Hi, everybody. Mary Long here with the
Hi,
Planner
everybody.
Chicago. And we've got Nancie King Mertz this week. If everybody would please mute yourselves. So this is another paint-in. And Nancie, thanks so much for doing this for us.
Well, thanks for asking. Happy to do it.
Well, it looks like a lot of fun. It looks like people have been really into the perspective. So we'd like to hear your perspective. So what are you going to be talking about tonight?
Well, in participating in some of these paint-ins or just the critiques that we've been doing over the last couple of years, I just have felt that people needed to focus a little more attention on perspective. One point perspective is the best way to start. Perspective can get very complicated as you add different planes and so forth. Like, for example, a European village, often the street turns, and so you have different sets of vanishing points and two-point perspective, and all in different levels. So that can get really complicated, but the one point is a great way to learn. And the thing that I tell my students is that you need to think about, if you're working from a photograph, or if you're working, plein air, just keep your eyes and your face, parallel to the ground and look straight out, and that is your sight line, your horizon line. And the vanishing point on single point perspective goes right to that horizon line. So often I'll see people get the building perspective right, as the tops of the buildings, the tops and bottoms of the windows diminish to that vanishing point, but then they get the street up too high. So it looks like, you're going uphill. And so I just wanted to try to help people understand it a little better, to make those corrections as you're painting or as you're working from reference photos. So that's why I sent the photos that I did and included the sight line. And if you notice, if there's a figure in those photos, that's typically where your sight line is, because that person, whether they're in the distance or they're closer to you, your heads are about the same height, unless it's a child or unless they're seated. If you're standing taking the photo or standing painting, people are walking up to you, you all have the same sight line, essentially. So that's where your vanishing point is, on that line. So when you're doing a crowd of people walking, their heads are pretty much all in the same line. Their bodies diminish as they go back into space, but just really notice how heads all kind of line up. So I have the photos, the reference photos that I sent you at the end of all the postings. So we'll review those, and I'll, after we looked at all your work, and then we'll just talk about where those, where the vanishing points are. Because it's really pretty clear when you examine it and have someone, show you right where it is. And then it'll just help you going forward with your painting, I think. I hope. So
there's a question here too for you, Nancie, about one of your YouTube pastel videos. You mentioned a book on perspective and wondering what one you would recommend.
Yeah, okay, it's right here. Perspective, is it? That's not backwards, is it?
Nope, nope.
Okay. Perspective Drawing Handbook. It's backwards on my screen, but and it's by Joseph D'Amelio, D''Amelio. And there's great exercises in here. The only thing I disagree with him on is people in perspective, because your heads are all on the same level, and he has them diminish, which I don't think that's, I disagree with him on that. But anyway, it's a great book. A good exercise for perspective too is if you have a chest of drawers, sit on the floor, pull out the drawers, and just draw them in different levels, and you'll get different vanishing points. So Lori sent this photo, reference photo. This is, I assume, Chicago alley. Lori?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's the Chicago alley?
Yeah, Chicago
Okay.
alley, yes, sorry.
Okay. So, you know, it's very clear, you know, that the tops and the bottoms of the windows are going back here. So as a human, you know, you're standing taking the photo, and your sight line's right kind of at the top of this car, because when you stand by a car, you can just see a little bit of the roof. If you're standing by a truck, that roof is above you, so you don't see the roof. So that's where your sight line is.
So Nancy, do all the, even though that's, okay, that's the sight line, then do all the lines go to the same point on that sight line?
Well, this is 1 point perspective.
All goes to the
So
same point, okay.
yeah, everything points to that. So right here, you know, all these windows point to that car. This comes down and points to that car. So, and I think you were pretty close in your painting. So
Yeah, it was like the drawing was better than when the painting, it was like, oh my goodness, what did I do?
that's what everyone says, that the brush kind of got in the way, and yeah. So your car is here. I think maybe this line might have been just a little more, a little sharper. And then I think your window at this end needs to come up a little bit. I think you're pretty close here, but this window should be a little taller to fall in line with these windows.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if the bottom of those windows kind of hit the top of the car. You know what I mean? Like they were not quite.
Let me see. Yeah, they point to the top of the car. They're well above your sight line, because probably your head is about here. If you were standing there, you know, you're seeing the tops of the dumpsters, although the dumpsters are kind of wonky anyway, because there's trash in there, so they're not lying flat. But, you know, just with your height, your head is kind of here. So these point down, these point more severely down because they're higher. And then, you know, the roof line's even higher. So it just, you know, it just becomes more pronounced. And then this roof line is even more pronounced in the angle. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. And you're pretty close with it. Be sure to bring your dumpsters out away from the building. So the base of the dumpsters wouldn't be in line with the base of the building. They're going to be, you know, they're a box. They have bulk, so they're going to come out and then recede to your vanishing point. So they kind of look like they're pasted onto the building because they don't come out away from the building. Is that clear?
Yeah, that is.
Okay.
That is.
Okay. And maybe, let's see.
Find that one more.
Yeah, maybe these don't come out away from the building enough either. So, you know, think of them as a box, the face of the box, or the box that's facing you, and then it recedes to your vanishing point on the perpendicular plane that's facing away from you. So that's a real common thing that people just put everything on that same line, and then there's no bulk to the things that are not attached to the building but in front of the building. Does that make
And then,
sense?
and then the angle of them would be the same to the same vanishing point, of course, right? It
Right,
just,
so they just come out and then they recede back to the same vanishing point. But you have to give them, make them a box that comes out away from the building.
then the shadows go in the same way too, right? I mean, they're kind of going toward the same vanishing point,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. The shadows can, you know, if there's a chimney, you know, it can make irregular shadows, but the top of those, if there were a chimney, it would go to your vanishing point. So, but this is nicely done. Is it completed?
Well, it looks, when I take the photos, I get glare on that right side, so that is darker. But I do think I need to darken both the left and right side a bit. I think they look too unfinished, right?
Maybe this, you can't tell what this is really on the left. I mean, we live in the city, we know it's a dumpster, but somebody that doesn't might not know what it is. Someone who doesn't live in the city. This has almost a European feel. When I first glanced at it, I thought that you had painted a European city, and then I thought, oh no, that looks like a Chicago alley. So I would just define that dumpster a little bit more and just get it out from the building a little bit.
Here's the question. Should I add those windows on the left a little bit, you know?
You could, just to break up that space.
Yeah.
And just reinforce your perspective, because they point right to the car.
And maybe work on the brickwork on, I don't know if that would be too much. I'm pointing.
Brick, I wouldn't worry about the brick. You might indicate there's a few stones here, you know, the bigger stones, and again, they all point to your vanishing point.
Great. Thank you.
Okay, any questions? Anyone? Not just Lori.
Is it always that tops of cars are at the vanishing point?
Well, no, it's often that the tops of cars are at your sight line. Robin, you're not as tall as I am, so maybe the roof of the car would be just flat. You may not see any of the roof of the car at all. I am taller, so I do see a little sliver of the roof of a car. If it's an SUV, I don't see the roof of the car because it's taller than I am. Our truck is a lot taller than I am, so I don't see the top of the truck. Unless it's dipping down in a gully in a street or something.
Okay, great.
But just
great.
Think real hard about where your head is in a scene. And then things are either going to be below your sight line or above your sight line.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Nancy.
Okay, this is a great photo. A nice perspective. Elizabeth?
Yeah.
Are you there?
I am, yes.
Oh, Liz, okay.
Hi.
Hi, nicely done. You've gotten this going the right direction. I would put a little shadow under your figures so it grounds them a little bit. And it looks like
oh, yes, that's
Yeah.
right, yeah.
it's a wet pavement, so yeah, just give them a little shadow under there so so they're not floating.
Yeah, okay.
Maybe, I think the window on the bus goes up a little too much. It should go to your vanishing point too. So I would just bring, by her elbow, I would just bring that down a little bit.
Yeah. Okay.
But these are nicely in alignment, these round pots, which is kind of hard to do. So that's,
Yeah, it's a tricky view that is with all those flower pots in front of the
Yeah.
Art Institute.
yeah.
Yeah, it was. I think it was last October, no, last Halloween when we had the snowstorm
Oh,
in
right.
2019.
Right.
So I took the picture, sort of, and I happened to capture the two people in it. So I thought it made a, and
Yeah.
it was a really murky, sort of, foggy day. So I thought it would be a fun painting.
Yeah. Having this value shift right here really indicates that it's a wet pavement. So
Yeah.
it's good you included that. There is one little thing here that throws me off. You've got the perspective correct here, 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 and then this goes up to some other vanishing point.
Yeah, it should be much steeper, that one.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so just
right.
bring that line down. I think
Yeah.
you've got it. Any questions?
I don't think so. I think
Anyone?
you spotted the things I need to need to fix there.
Okay, nice job.
Thank you.
So this is a photo that Errol had us paint from, or offered for us to paint from a while ago. So this is Deborah's. Okay, Deborah, nice watercolor. Looks like you've gotten this all in alignment. Your windows are good. Only thing I see is, I think your street is going up back here. I would bring your street down a little bit. See, your vanishing point is, I think it's got to be, where your head would be if you were standing in the street and these cars were coming at you. So your sight line's going to be at the top of the car. So everything's coming down to your sight line. But I think your street's going up a little. So try to, it's, I think, an easy fix. Even though it's watercolor, and I think watercolor is so hard, I think you can just bring this line down, so it lays down about here. And bring this down just a little bit so it just doesn't look like it's curving up a bit. See, it's a much flatter street. It actually does curve up a little bit in the distance, but I think it's a little flatter than you've painted it. So here's your sight line at the top of the car. If you're standing by the truck, you probably are just even with the bed of that truck. So you may not be able to see, the boards that make up the bed of that truck. That might be right on your sight line. So just keep that in mind. But I think everything else looks good. Let's see, there's a little confusion here. Let me see what that, oh, the planter, okay. Yeah, the planter looks like it's, tipping forward. So if you can flatten that out as well. This is going to your vanishing point. But I think this needs to lay down a bit. And this needs to lay down a bit on this end of it. And that's going to make that sit better on the sidewalk and not tip forward. Is Deborah there? Anybody else have any comments about this piece? This is really nicely painted right here. And just be careful about getting too much detail in a distant building. I would treat that more as a value shape. She's handled these windows nicely. And just kind of sketching these in. But I think having so much detail in a distant building just kind of pulls your eye there. This is nice. Okay, anything? Anybody? Okay. So this is Yelena's reference. You see her sight lines right about here. On the top of the car, here. Just the window. And here's her sketch. So I think she's gotten the sidewalk going up a little much.
Okay.
But she resolves a lot of it. You resolve a lot of it in your painting. Yeah, the car's not really there, but I think the sidewalk is going above your sight line a bit. So, are you
Yes,
there,
I'm here.
Elena? Okay. Does that make sense, what I'm saying?
Yeah.
About your sight line? Yeah, I think it's really just the sidewalk. So if you could bring that down a
Yeah,
little
I
bit.
need to finish here. Yeah,
is it-
I did not yet. I didn't. Mhm.
Yeah.
Mm.
Because the sidewalk doesn't relate to these buildings, you know, that are
Yes, sure.
facing it. Yeah, so I think that's the only little area that I would try to correct. But I love the drama, the
Thank you.
shadows, and yeah.
I did not finish yet a little bit. I need to finish. Yes.
Okay. Yeah, there's a lot of information there.
Thank you. Thank you for your
Is it heavy oil? I can't tell if it's thick
That's
oil.
oil.
But is it heavy? Did you apply it with kind of a heavy?
oil.
Yeah, nice.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Any questions at all, Melina?
I understand. No questions now. Thank you.
Okay. Okay.
Thank you for your critic.
Yeah. So Linda, nice. Her COVID painting. Very nice.
I just didn't, there was too much information to get to. You know, I'm so in love with nature that it's hard to get excited
About buildings.
So yeah, it looks kind of strange.
Well, I think you found your vanishing point and you stayed with it. Got all your windows going in the correct direction. I can't remember. We'll get to the photo later. I can't remember what was going on here.
So that's the problem. I didn't put in the, what do you call it for the train?
Oh, the trestle.
Yeah, I didn't put any of that in the car, so it just looks so strange. I don't even, is there something I could do to fix this without going the whole 9 yards?
Could you put the trestle in so that it's clear that it's an elevated train?
Yeah, I kind of turned it into a road just because
Yeah.
too much.
Okay. Well, the point was to get, you know, the 1 point perspective. So it may not, I mean, I think you tackled the assignment. So whether you put the trestle and cars in there, maybe not matter, but
Okay,
looks good.
thank you. So at what point is there 2 point perspective in a 1 point? Like, are there parts that get into 2 point perspective?
Yeah, it can, you know, like if you're standing at the corner of a building and, you know, the roof goes down to vanishing point over here, and then this side of the roof goes down to vanishing point over here. And that's going to be our January assignment. So we'll work with some 2-point perspective then. So, you know, like when the corner is closest to you, and then everything else diminishes on the 2 sides to 2 separate vanishing points. Sometimes if you do painting of a storefront, there's a lot of 1-point perspective, but maybe there's some things inside the store that are in 2-point perspective, you know, inside the window. So yeah, it's just careful observation, training your eye to see it. So if you can squeeze in some structural paintings among your nature paintings, it'll just help you understand the, you know, perspective better. But you've nailed it, I think. So nicely done.
You're absolutely right. I need to do more of that. Thank you.
Yeah. I always tell people, paint what scares you, so that you learn from each painting.
Right. How do you get excited about it though?
Oh, I love cityscapes.
And if you don't love cities, I mean.
How do you get excited about what?
Something that you're not drawn to. Do you know what I mean?
Oh, yeah. Well, just think of it as a challenge.
Okay.
You know, stepping outside of your comfort zone.
Right, right. All right, thank you.
Okay, Howard. This is an interesting composition and a good challenge for you. So I'm glad that you included this image.
Well, thank you.
So look at the boards, the slats, and how they fan out and they run off the side here because of the angle of your photo, and they get much wider as they come toward you, and they get very narrow at the back. So see how much shorter this line is because it comes off the side of your image. So if you can bring the slat off the side of your image and fan out those boards so that they're much wider as they're close to you, I think they're fine back here, but they need to get much wider as they approach the viewer. Do you see that?
Yeah, I might have another go at this.
Yeah, I think it's a great exercise. And if you really get into it, look at the beautiful light here.
Right, the shadows and the patina from the...
And you might put the road back there. You know, the road is flat. I'm not sure if this was an indication of the road, but the road would be flat back here behind those trees. So it looks like you started to do the shadows. That's good. I think you just need to be bold and fan these out.
Okay.
Is this oil with lots of terps, or is it watercolor?
Watercolor.
Okay. Okay. But that's a great exercise. That photo is terrific.
Could I ask a question about that? When you have the shadows, like in the photograph, do the shadows then they would take off their own perspective point, right? They're going to a different vanishing point, right?
Yeah, they're not going to this vanishing point. But actually the top of the shadow is. See how that points right to the vanishing point across here?
There's several on that bench.
Yeah. This is just a great exercise.
I saw that the road and the bit of water to the right as also kind of converging towards the vanishing point. The way they
Yeah.
make sort of a V, an upside down V.
Yeah, yeah. So I see your vanishing point. Everything's pointing over here. This is pointing here. So where they meet up is kind of right there. You see that?
Yes.
This comes down. I think there's a slight curve in the design of
Yes.
the bench, but essentially it's there. And you've got, this back side of that board that is the structure. And then there's a flat side that's holding the slats, and then it turns to where your butt would hit it if you were sitting on the bench. So this line goes to your vanishing point, this line goes to your vanishing point all the way back, and the bottom goes all the way back to your vanishing point. So there's the shape of it right there. So this line and this line and that line all go to your point up here. But they get much wider when they're close to you as compared to in the distance. Even this little bit under here that's getting struck with light, that goes to the vanishing point right there and right there. So you can make, really effective paintings and drawings if you can pay attention to all those little nuances. Anything else?
No, thank you very much.
Okay, so this is Joanne's. Boy, you really nailed the printing. That's hard to do. Good job.
I had infinite patience one day, and then I got sick, and then I couldn't finish it. So you don't need to go too much into anything except if I have the perspective right.
Yeah, the perspective looks good. Your sight line is where their heads are. She might be a little higher than this woman, so I'd bring her down just a little. She seems to be floating just a little bit. She's up in space a little bit. But yeah, but nicely done. Yeah, you've got all this is great.
I don't know. I don't know why I was so persnickety that moment. I'm usually not.
And you've even captured, this wonderful line that the lampposts create, and you've diminished the space between them as they go back, which a lot of people forget to do.
Well, that's what I got a little confused with, to tell you the truth. That's where I was like, really? Okay.
Yeah, it looks perfect.
Okay. Thank you. I don't know. I wasn't sure. So thank you. And now I can complete it.
Yeah, I hope you're all better now.
I am, but I just couldn't finish it when I wanted to. So thank you, Nancie.
Okay, this is a complicated image. And okay, so look at their heads. They're all in different areas of the street, but their heads are all on the same level. Can you see that all the way across?
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah. So that's your sight line. So everything's going to vanish to that line, to a point on that line. So just look at this strong angle coming right down to that street level. So these people are able to see kind of the top of the cars. harder to see the top of the cop car because it's an SUV. It's a little taller, and then the bus is, you know, absolutely taller than we are, so you can't see the top of the bus. Okay, does that make sense to everybody?
You make it seem so easy. Then, like you said, you get the brush in your hand and the brush does its own thing. And it's like, no.
Right. Okay, so here are the figures. They're much higher. So the sight line, yeah, so all this needs to lay down a little bit. So these yellow lines should go back. The car should come down. People should come down. And their heads and the tops of the cars should be about on the same top of this car, and the people should be about the same level. And this also should be bigger. The car should be bigger because it's closer. So get the top of the car up here and just make it bigger. See, this is Sue's. Okay.
Yep, I'm here.
Okay, Sue. Does that
Yep. I'm
make sense?
beginning to resonate.
Okay.
What about the car on the left? Is that?
The cop car?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's again, it's an SUV, so it's a little, probably you wouldn't see as much of the top. It's hard to, I think you might have the perspective right on that. I think it's just this perspective on the street is.
Yeah, see, I did it a lot closer up picture than
Uh-huh.
what this picture shows, so, but it probably shouldn't have changed what I'm doing, but.
Yeah, this is pointing right to your vanishing point. So I kind of see it like right there. And it looks like the cop car is jacked up a little bit in the back and then goes down a bit.
Okay.
So it's just, I think it's just your yellow lines
Okay.
that are making this look like it's not quite right. I think it's okay. I think it's just, you got to get those lines down on the street instead of
Okay.
going up.
Going to, yeah, and flatten that distant part.
Yeah, just flatten them out. Yeah.
Okay.
So if this is your vanishing point, just well, I guess it would be where this white line is. Just make sure this points to that too. The yellow
Okay.
points to that point, and the street points to that point.
Okay, so that, okay, got it.
Yeah, so this will get narrower to point to that point.
Okay.
If this is too broad, then it makes it look like it's going up over.
Yeah, I ended up feeling
Yeah.
like I got too wide of a space up there, and I actually added
Yeah.
some buildings in the back further, but it still seems like too much space there, and that's why
Yeah.
it's running
Well,
out.
just tell yourself that that's your vanishing point and make sure
Everything goes
everything
back.
points to it. Yeah.
Okay. So are the buildings okay? More or
Yeah,
less?
I think so. Yep, this seems to be pointing down here.
Okay.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. Those streets will get you every time.
Yeah,
Okay, this has been a great lesson.
good. Yeah, people just tend to make streets go up at the end, and they, you know, they're more flat and level.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so the sight line would be this guy's head or person's head. And it looks like things are pretty accurate here. Maybe this line might be off a little bit. I think it needs to come down a little more. And this line needs to come down more severely. Just to point to the sight line, to the vanishing point. This is this is accurate. So this is Christine. I like how you handled this. Nice. And again, I can't remember what's under the bridge. When we get to the end, where we have the photos, be able to see what's under there. But I think you need to indicate that the street level is here, so that the street doesn't continue on up and seem to be floating up. So maybe, I don't know, we'll have to look at the photo together to figure that out. But nicely done. Is Christine there? Okay. Any comments, anyone?
A question about the person in the car. So people are always the same, right? But now cars will, the sight, what am I trying to ask? Like the sight line is correct for the cars, right? On this one?
Well, I think if the car were this small compared to the person, I think it would be further down the street. And I think the roof of the car would be more up here. I mean, if you just picked this up and moved it back, I think it would read a little better. It just seems a little too small and too low for the scale of this person. Do you agree?
Yeah, that's what I was wondering. Yeah, I
Yeah.
think it seems that way to me. But.
Yeah. And I'm not sure if these are cars. I just can't remember what's in that photo. This green patina is really nice. I love those guard houses on the river. So pretty. Any comments or questions? Okay. Oh, Lori, there's your photo again. Okay. Abby, hi. Are you there? No. Okay, so she did a nice perspective drawing that's here. So she really made sure everything was going to her single point. And she pulled the fences out away from the building. This might go up just a little bit more. Not sure about this, but anyway, good. And she's got the heads right on the sight line, right where their eyeballs would be. So that's good. So it's fairly accurate, I think. Everything's coming to the sight line. The shadows would be more flat. With the shadows leaning like this, it looks like they're walking on a kind of a steeply inclined sidewalk. So just flatten out those shadows. And I think that would correct that. With such bright light hitting, I think you would see more shadow on this side too. Okay, any comments or questions? Okay, Shannon, nice. Let's see, somebody submitted, that's okay. Somebody submitted 3 like sketches and paintings and stuff, so I just want to make sure it wasn't this one. Okay, I love how you scratch the light into the wet paint. It's nice. Sight line here where the head is, everything's pointing accurately to the, not to her head, but to the sight line. So that's great. So the vanishing point is right about in here. Are you with us, Shannon? Okay, nicely done. Okay, this is Julie. Are you there, Julie?
Yes, I'm here.
Good. Okay, looks like it's pretty accurate. I like your figure. Again, the car might be a little bigger because it seems to be a little small in scale. If it's going to be in this position, I think I might make it a little bit bigger. If you want to keep it small, you know, just move it back a little bit.
Okay.
More. I'm just thinking about this guy walking over to that car and getting in it. I think it's a little close to him and a little too small in scale.
Okay, yeah, I think that car was further down the street.
Okay. It's nice how you just suggested that building. And you have your detail in the foreground. That's nice. Nice shadows cast on the building. So all your perspective looks good.
Good.
This looks good. Any questions?
No, thanks a lot.
Mm-hmm. Robin, nice. Okay, your perspective looks good. Let's see. This, I haven't seen the reference photo, so I'm not sure what this street's doing, but the only thing I noticed is that your windows seem to get a little bigger as they go back, so they should actually get smaller as they go back. Oh yeah, you did include the photo, I'm sorry. Yeah, so just, you know, always remember that the windows closer to you are a little bit bigger than the windows that are away from you, because this all diminishes in size as it goes back. So
Okay.
your vanishing point is going to be on, you know, this sight line. You see these figures they're actually up on the sidewalk, so they can see the tops of cars better from their vantage point. But the heads are all pretty much, except for this littler person, all about the same. So vanishing point back here. And then strong angle here, pointing down. So let's
Sometimes it seems like the angles are so acute or something when you're going towards the 1 point perspective. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's confusing.
Yeah, it's very sharp up here, and then it just fans out as you go down, as it becomes closer to your sight line, closer to your eye level. It just flattens out a little, you know, very gradually. So I think just look again at your street angle, because this seems to be going to another vanishing point, maybe.
Yeah, I noticed that was a big mistake in the front there.
It's not a big mistake. I think it's easy to fix, but this seems okay. and accurate. But this is just, it gives the indication that there's another street off this direction coming, feeding into that one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, this is, I don't know, this is difficult. I got to go back to my perspective books.
I
But,
think you did it. You did a really nice job, Robin.
well, partly. Yeah, thank you. I thought that, don't you think they look like they're going uphill a little bit though?
I mean, it's so vague that it's hard to tell.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe if you got the street going to the vanishing point, it might, I don't know, it might make them not seem to be going uphill
Okay.
so much. But good job. It's fun how you painted this.
Oh, thank you. There's a lot to learn in this. I know, I found out, so thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. You tackled a tough one.
Thank you.
Okay, Carrie. Nice. Perspective looks good. This figure seems a little elongated. I think their heads would be, I think this figure's great. I think she's just, her face needs to be more here, maybe. Because your sight line is along here.
So she's closer to us, so she could be bigger, but her head would be on the same sight line as the girl behind her.
Right, because you all have the same sight line essentially.
Right.
Yeah. And you've got, like the angle here correct, and these are correct. They're in nice alignment, and you've spaced them well. So think about the details on these lampposts. They're going to be, if your sight line's up here, then these little ornaments are going to be, an ellipse downward. If they're above you, there's going to be an ellipse upward. So just keep that in mind. I'm a little confused by the detail here.
Uh-huh.
I think these are good here. So just little details. This awning is terrific.
Yeah, I was trying not to make it too dark. I didn't want to make another point of interest.
Yeah. Well, I think your eye just naturally goes to the figures, which we do tend to do. But so it's a nice backdrop. Any questions?
Yeah, no, if there's anything else you think that could make it better. I'm not pleased with the painting, but I don't know why.
Maybe if you darken these lampposts to balance the darkness here.
Uh-huh.
And that might kind of frame the figures a little more. Reinforce your center of interest. They seem a little unfinished or tentative, maybe, because they're so light in value.
Yeah, I see that.
Yeah. So it would make a nice frame around your center of interest.
Thank you very much.
Good. Okay, Karen. Are you here, Karen? Okay, she's got figures a good size. The scale's good. She didn't include that car. There's, I think, a car back there, and it seems to be accurate. Yeah, the perspective looks good. The gallery view is covering the notes, so I can't tell if that's a oil or pastel.
It says acrylic.
Oh, acrylic, okay. Yeah, that the gallery view is right over the name. I can just see the name, not the last name, and I can't see the medium, so. Okay. Was that Karen that said it's acrylic?
No, that was Julie.
Oh, okay, okay,
Karen's not on tonight.
okay. Mark, this is great. Beautifully painted.
Thank you.
The only thing I noticed is
Yep.
she's a little too tall.
She's a very tall person.
Yeah.
Can't get in those cars.
Yeah. So that's the only thing I would try to correct. It's just wonderfully painted.
Thank you. I was laughing at Linda's comment because I've never done a city thing before, and it was so intimidating.
Wow.
And I was so focused on all that stuff above me, and I watched one of your videos, and you just tick 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 and boom,
Oh.
and I was exhausted when I.
Oh. Well.
So I wanted to ask you a couple questions. So like in the photo, that horizontal, I'm sorry, the vertical is skewed in the photo. It's leaning, and so I corrected it.
Okay.
In a photo app so that it was straight up, because I remember Errol saying, your verticals have to be up and down.
Mm-hmm.
And I was so pleased that the cars look like cars that I didn't realize that she's a giant. So I guess if I was corrected this, I'd either make her smaller, bring this up, and then if I brought her up, I could make the doors a little smaller, because they're giant doors for a giant person too.
I would just bring her feet down a little bit and put her head, so that she can just see the tops of the cars.
Thank you.
So, yeah, nicely done.
Thank you.
It looks kind of juicy. Is it juicy oil?
Yeah, I use a lot of dryer.
Yeah, great. I like how you painted the building here and just suggested the newspaper boxes. That's great.
Yeah, this was a lot of fun. I like to paint. I was realizing how I've been getting away with just painting mountains, and it really isn't pushing me very hard. So,
how to paint what scares you.
Yeah, I was totally intimidated by this, and then I was really loving it by the time it was done.
Good.
Thank you.
Nice color choices. Barbara.
I'm here. So I removed my figure, and saw the site side is right about where I guess that's a CTA thing.
This thing?
Yeah, right.
So where do you see it on this?
So when I was looking at your photo, so I see it just just in the middle of that top part of that CTA thing, and that's where I determined my sight line was.
Am I doing
yes, a little bit above the orange, in the middle of the black that's going horizontal, right there where you're.
Okay, so is that a structure you can walk into?
No. I guess not.
Because you would boink your head if you walked into it, if that's where your sight line is.
Yeah.
So I think your sight line would be more down here if it's something a building you could walk into. And if your sight line was up here, you'd see more of the roof of the car.
Okay.
And you really don't, because if you're standing by the car, you're just going to see a little bit of that roof. So that indicates your sight line. And I think check this line. It might be a little low. You might just bring that up a little bit.
You mean, okay.
It seems like it's angled down a little too much. I would imagine these posts are the same height.
Oh, okay.
And with that angle, it seems like this post is a lot shorter.
Mm-hmm.
So just check that angle
Mm-hmm.
on the image and see.
Okay.
Which would affect what's back here too. This might flatten out a little bit.
Huh. Okay.
This is really nicely painted here. Okay. Any questions?
No, I just did the structure of the thing, and of course where I thought my sight line was, according to your photo, and then work from there.
Yeah, so yeah, just think where your head would be if you had taken the photo.
Yeah. Okay, that's a little, yeah. All right, thanks.
Okay, Deborah. Nice job with the perspective here. Is Deborah still there?
Oh, she had to leave.
Oh, okay.
She's 2 hours ahead, so.
Oh, yeah.
But Nancy, this has more than 1 point perspective, right? Or no?
I see 1 point, but the steps, yeah, the steps have another set of vanishing points. And steps are tricky because, you know, you have to determine, let's see, her sight line is, her vanishing points about in here, I think. So as you go up steps, you're going to see a lot more down low, and then this flat plane that faces the sky diminishes as you go up. So that's a little confusing because now she's got this as big as the bottom step. So steps are a great exercise to understand perspective. So, you know, you've got this is what faces you, this is what faces the sky, it's flat. This is what faces you, faces the sky. So it just, each one of the planes that face the sky gets smaller and smaller as they go up, because, you know, it's just, you're seeing less and less of that plane. So practice drawing steps or painting steps when you can.
Is there a reference photo for this one?
I didn't see one. Nope.
Okay. So it almost looks like she's doing it from above on another balcony.
Maybe so. Maybe so. Where is she now? She's always in exotic places.
Oh, she's in that exotic place.
Okay. Lucky her.
But Nancy, the roof, like, it looks like the one roof is going like to one vanishing point and the other roof is going to another. Is that right?
Oh,
Should they, or
they should both be going to the same vanishing point. Yeah, so I think this could be more severe. It's not really completed there. Yeah, it just should point to about here. Everything should point about to the middle of that window. So yeah, this could be more pronounced up here. Yeah, and these aren't quite angled enough. So anyway. You can just, you know, find your sight line, find your vanishing point, and then take a string or take a ruler or something and just make sure everything recedes to that point when you're doing 1-point perspective.
It sounds so simple, but it is not.
It takes lots and lots of practice. It really does. Their sidewalk is leading up there. So yeah, just little things that need to be tweaked that I think she can correct pretty easily. But the stairs are what threw me off the most. So, you know, it's just something to work on. Okay, nice. This is Dorothy's.
Hi.
Hi. Okay, nice scale of the figure and nice position of the car. That seems to make sense. I like how you just suggested the windows in the distant building. Let's see. I think, I'm not sure where your vanishing point is. So your sight line is going to be kind of along where his head is. So I think, you know, all these should be a little more pronounced and point down to that. You know, you can make his head your vanishing point.
Do you think I should have moved him up higher as opposed to changing the angle of the windows?
I don't think so, because then he'd be floating.
Possibly.
Yeah. This is nice. And see how you've got these angles pretty good down here, and then they flatten out as you go up, and they should become more severe as you go up. So this is pointing over here somewhere.
Ah, yeah.
Yeah. So everything they can be flat when they're on your eye level, but as you go up, they have to point down. As you go down, they have to point up. So if it's below your eye level, it goes up to the vanishing point. If it's above your eye level, it goes down to the vanishing point. So is this dry enough that you could just try putting a straight edge on there and just...
Yeah, it's dry.
Okay.
I mean, that one line behind the blue building is a pretty severe angle. Not on the left-hand side.
Oh, yeah.
That's a very...
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but I guess the windows on the right needed to be a little more severe.
Yeah, they need to... this one's close, and then you've painted them all with the same angle. You see that?
Yeah.
So it just fans out and gets much more severe as you go up the building.
Okay.
But I love your technique. I love how you scraped out, and that's really beautifully painted. As far as
Thank
technique.
you. I used a squeegee.
Nice. I've been experimenting with squeegee and oil. I like that a lot.
I saw the Charlie Hunter video, and he suggested getting this squeegee, and so I've been working with that.
Oh, like a window washing squeegee?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
He even has he even has a specific one he tells you to get because you can replace the blades.
Oh, nice.
It's really fabulous. It's a 6-inch squeegee.
Oh,
And
I'll have
so
to.
I bought it. And yeah, I'll send you the name of it.
Oh, great.
But I
Okay.
should have, when I started doing it, I should have more, as I went up, I should have more severely done the angle.
Yeah.
That's what I didn't get about the vanishing point, is that as it goes away from the sight line, it gets to be a more severe angle.
Right. It just has to point to your sight line, to your vanishing point. So just use his
Okay.
head as your
Okay.
vanishing point, and then see where your lines.
Okay.
Can you put the
Okay.
name of the squeegee in the chat box?
Yeah.
Yeah, I can. It's very cool tool, I tell you.
I've been using those rubber things that, you know, have a sharp edge, and that's been fun, but a squeegee would be great.
It's wonderful.
Okay. Any other comments or questions?
Nancy, I had a
No.
comment. Do you think the figure should be taller, because the bridge looks awfully big for compared to where he's standing? It would make it like 24 feet tall, and I don't think most Chicago bridges are quite that high.
Yeah,
up.
that might be a little tall. Yeah. I don't know. I like the figure so much.
I think he needs to be, I think the figure needed to be moved back a little bit.
Because he looks like
Or
he's
the
kind
bridge
of,
needed to be moved forward, because as far as, I did see that, the bottom where they're lining up makes the bridge look so much huger than the person, but I think the person is actually further back.
Yeah, I love the little person. I think he's great.
Yeah.
It's sort of.
Yeah. I think this would be a flat, or flat too, across the top.
Flat?
Yeah.
What do you mean by flat?
Instead of going up, I think this is a flat.
Oh yeah, it should be flat, yes.
Yeah, and so these would be
that
flat
was-
too.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, any other comments? Okay,
No.
Marcy. Yeah, you got your sight line.
Hi, Nancy.
Hi. Her head's where it should be. I think it looks good. The shadows under the L, you might mix them up a little bit so that they're not so repetitious. You know, there's like Joyce going different directions and cutting into those shadows. Just kind of play with the shadows a little bit instead of, you know, making them so similar. I have to look at the photo again, but I think they might be a little more different, you know, in shape and so forth. But let's see. I'm wondering about the buildings. They seem to be leaning down too much. But I think you're pretty close there, Marcy. Do you have questions at all? Are you still there?
Oh, it went off. Yeah, the buildings on the left-hand side I thought were too angular.
Yeah, I'd flatten that out a little bit.
Yeah. How about the yellow color in the back?
It does jump forward a little bit. If you can gray that out a little.
Right.
You know, if you want to use yellow, I'd rather see you use it on a building that's a little closer. But nice.
Thank you.
Anything else? Anyone?
No.
Okay. Kuhn, this looks great.
Thank you.
Really nice. Did you learn anything from this, Kuhn? Anything that you didn't already know?
Perspective.
You really nailed it. Looks good.
Thank you.
I like how you've just suggested these buildings in the distance. And you just suggested, you know, the trestle. That's great. Any comments, anyone? Very nicely done, Kuhn.
Thank you. Thank you. You're a great teacher.
Oh, thank you. I don't see anything that needs to be fixed. It looks great.
Hmm.
Okay. Yeah, question or comment? Did someone start to say something? Okay.
Oh, whatever.
So these are just the reference photos, reviewing those again. So, you know, you can just see everything's pointing to the horizon line back here, or sight line. I was standing in the merchandise mart when I took this picture, so I was up pretty high. I love to do aerial shots like that because it's a good challenge. So see, the heads are the same. It's just the length of the body down from the head that indicates where they are in space. And I think the darkness, excuse me, on the lampposts, there's a tree in the way there, but I think the darkness on the lampposts kind of helps frame this whole thing, the dark, and helps you, you know, look at your center of interest a little better.
Nancie, when your horizon line is tilted like that,
Yeah,
that means your up and downs would be tilted, right?
No, yeah, I'm sorry that that's tilted. I was doing that on a piece of paper and then taking a picture of it on my iPad and sending it. So it's kind of a wonky way to do it, but it, you know, it should be straight across. So no one attempted this. I thought this was a good challenge. So everything converges up to this line. And I was standing in a high-rise that they were constructing overlooking the metro. So, you know, the tracks converge up there. The train converges up there. So no one tackled that one. Okay, so here's her head. In line with the tops of the cars.
Fooey, I was looking at your line and not at her head. Oh, Fooey, I see now.
Yeah, see the lines by her head. So. And then everything's converging. So, and see how the light shapes in the shadow are varied as the light comes through the tracks. It just makes for more interesting shadows if you can vary that. Okay, nobody did that one. Here's this one. So let's see, this guy is like 1, 2, 3.5 on the bridge. And the bridge is flat, and all these are flat. these crisscross things. And everything points down to the sight line. And then up to the sight line, because that's below the eye level. Any questions or final comments or, okay, I'll stop sharing.
I was just going to ask about that last one with the guy on the bridge, the guy walking. So that, I mean, that car, it is very, very teeny tiny, right?
Let me go back to that car. Yeah, it's obvious that there's quite a bit of distance between the guy and the car, though. I think people were getting the car too close to him and making it little. So it looked like
right size, but in the wrong place.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, share screen.
Thank you.
So actually the bridge ends right where he's kind of stepping onto the bridge. So
yeah.
Yeah. And then the cars, you know, maybe that's a block between, maybe not, I don't know, half a block between the car and the figure. So
it's the full length of the merchandise mart, the full width of the merchandise mart, right?
It's some.
This is the.
By the mart.
I think this is
That's
Wacker
Wacker.
behind him.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
Wacker.
Yeah.
And then that's
Yeah.
LaSalle, so it's sort of,
Yeah.
it looks like it's like a street plus a block or something like that.
Yeah. But you can still see the street converging back under that bridge. So.
But his head looks like it's higher than the car.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe there's a little dip in the street. I don't know.
Right. Yeah.
We're looking south, right? So.
What's that, Lori?
We're
looking
yes.
south, right? Yes.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, so I mean, they do dip a little bit as they come up to the river, I think.
Yeah.
You see that in that picture of State Street of Ells. It's sort of, you know, the street goes up a little bit at the back. It's so I think, you know, one's probably getting fooled by that. It's, you know.
Okay, any other comments?
I have one quick question. So on a lot of these photos, the sky is some nebulous yellow, pink weirdness. And I can't help but feel that that's because of it's a photo. How do you deal with that? Because it was the same thing in the other picture that a number of us painted. And I know the sky's not yellow in the middle of the day. So do you correct for that? And then.
Well, I often, especially when I'm doing a long street scene and there's, you know, you're seeing sky down here, I will often make that kind of yellow because of pollution, you know, and then I gradually bring it up to maybe some other colors that relate to the building colors, or maybe get some blue in there. You know, it just depends on the feel of the day. But yeah, I often have some yellow in towards the horizon line.
So you don't just
city
come
piece.
blasting in into a cerulean blue sky and it's a nice day and it's just, yeah, okay.
Yeah, that doesn't happen very often in the city, but yeah, it just depends on your palette and the type of day it is. And, you know, the sky over landscape is going to be a different color than the sky over a busy city street, just because of the fumes and all that.
The name of the squeegee was just put in the chat.
Oh, a Tor 6 brass squeegee with replaceable blades.
Yeah, now I'll show you. Here's what it looks like.
Okay. Did you get it at the hardware store?
And then you can take this. I got it on Amazon.
Okay.
And you
Slide
can just
that
take
up.
this thing off and you can buy replacement squeegees. So
okay.
He was saying that, you know, you can use it when it's messed up because it gives you interesting things. But if you want a nice clean line, you put a new blading.
Okay,
See,
thank you.
I thought it was fabulous when he showed it.
Yeah,
so.
he is a character.
He is.
Thank you.
Thank you all for tackling this.
Well, thank you, Nancy.
Thanks, Mary. Thanks,
Thank you,
everybody.
Nancy.
So
Thank you
much.
so much.
Thank
Thanks
you.
very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
See ya.
Yeah.
Thanks,
Bye.
Nancy.
Have a good holiday, everybody. If I don't
Yeah,
see
you
you
too.
Happy holidays.
again. Okay.
Holidays.
Bye-bye.
Bye.